Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here so early. This is Friday, March 29th, a voting session of the Ways and Means Committee hearing. I don't know what I just said. Voting for the Ways and Means Committee. Thank you. Delegate Long and Delegate Ebersol are excused. Okay, so we will start with House Bill 557, and there are amendments. Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 557 is the cross-file of Senate Bill 574. It repeals the termination date of Chapter 638 of 2020, which exempted the sale of specified aircraft parts and equipment from the state sales and use tax. There are amendments. The amendments extend rather than repeal the termination date of the exemption. Move the amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, motion on the bill is, all in favor of the amendments. I need to wake up apparently. All in favor of the amendments signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do you want to make a statement or you just opposed? Okay, the amendments pass as favorable. Is there a motion on the bill as amended? Okay, any discussion on the bill? Okay, all in favor of the bill as a favorable as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, Delegate Plakovich-Carr is opposed. House Bill 557 passes favorably as amended. House Bill 838, and there are amendments. Delegate Plakovich-Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As amended, this bill establishes the Prince George's County Family Child Care Home Expansion Grant Program in the local school system to increase the number of registered family child care providers, family child care homes, and large family child care homes in low-income communities in the county. So the amendments move the bill from MSDE to the local school system and remove the mandated state appropriation for the program. Move the amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the amendments pass. Motion on the bill is amended. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? House Bill 838 passes favorably as amended. House Bill 1354, and there are amendments, and I will do this since Delegate Ebersol is not here. As amended, this bill it's authorizing a county board of education to designate Veterans Day as a public school holiday. The amendments replace a provision of the bill requiring county boards of education to excuse student absences on Veterans Day with a provision authorizing county boards of education to designate Veterans Day as a public school holiday. So essentially, we're amending it to make it enabling for each local jurisdiction should they choose to do that. Move the amendments. Okay, any discussion on the amendments? Delegate Wu?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we need that enablement, like authorization, like for school systems to decide when they have day off or on?
I'm gonna let Alistair answer that question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Delegate. Normally you don't, but in the case of Veterans Day, there's a requirement that each County Board of Education provide particular education and service opportunities in public schools on that day. So that particular thing needs to be amended to allow for if county boards decide to make it a public holiday, that provision no longer applies.
So does that apply to some other federal holidays as well?
Yes, I believe Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday is on that list, and there are some other days I can't remember off the top of my head what they all are, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Other than, doesn't Alistair look handsome this morning?
On the record.
Okay, did we move the amendments? Okay, so any more discussion on the bill? Okay, so for those just joining us, we are on 1354. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, House Bill 1354 passes favorably as amended. House Bill 1485. Delegate Who is that? It's not you? Oh, yes, we're moving that to a study. So that is, if you recall, Delegate Toll's swimming education classes in schools. Any discussion? The motion is for a study.
Move favorable. Aye.
So we're moving it, it's a study, so there's not gonna be a bill, but likely Alistair will look into it and report back to us when we come back. So there's no bill. Yeah. Second, any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the study signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 1485 will be studied. House Bill 1516 is being held. Senate Bill 14. Delegate Feldmark.
Senate Bill 14 authorizes Baltimore City, counties, and municipalities in the state to designate specified tourism zones and grant qualified tourism enterprises located in those zones certain admissions and amusement tax exemptions and real and personal property tax credits. It is identical to House Bill 1281. Move favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of Senate Bill 14 signify by saying aye. Opposed? Senate Bill 14 passes favorably. Senate Bill 161, and there are amendments. Again, I will do these. The amendments remove alterations to the spending formula for certain counties' community schools, require that the Director of Community Schools develop an evaluation form, and require that MSDE review community school implementation plans. Move the amendments. Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? I move the bill as amended. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the bill as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 161 passes favorably as amended. Senate Bill 165. And this bill requires each public school in the state that offers an athletic program and each public institution of higher education that offers an athletic program to provide specified mental health training to each participating coach. MSDE must work in collaboration with MDH, each local board of education, and the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association to develop guidelines for public schools to train coaches in recognizing the indicators of mental illness and behavioral distress in students. Similar provisions exist for institutions of higher education, and it's in the same posture as the bill passed by the House. I move the bill. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 165 passes favorably. Senate Bill 180, and there are amendments. Delegate Plavkovich-Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a cross-file to a bill that previously passed our committee unanimously. As amended, SB 180 requires the Department of Health in consultation with county boards of education to establish policies that authorize school nurses and other trained school personnel to administer bronchodilators under certain circumstances. So the amendments just put the bill in nearly the same posture that the House bill passed our committee. The one small change is that we specifically call out a couple of national nonprofits to be involved in the training that Department of Health will set up. Move the amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion on the bill is amended. Any discussion? I think no one wants to discuss this bill ever again. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Senate Bill 180 passes favorably as amended. Senate Bill 209, Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 209 alters the composition of and several administrative requirements related to the Maryland Economic Development Commission. It passed the Senate unanimously. Move favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 209 passes favorably. Senate Bill 214. Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 214 increases the membership of the Maryland Military Installation Council and updates obsolete references. It passed the Senate unanimously. Move favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of Senate Bill 214 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 214 passes favorably. Senate Bill 250, and there are amendments. And I will do those. Oh, no, that's yours, yes. Delegate Plavkovich Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So SB 250 as amended prohibits county public libraries from charging an overdue fine, a replacement fee, or a reserve fee to either minors or for library material that is intended for children or teens. So with the amendments, the bill is identical to the House bill that passed our committee 19-1. Move the amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion on the bill is amended. Any discussion on the bill is amended? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 250 passes favorably as amended. Senate Bill 271, and there are amendments. Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 271, election law revisions. We have previously passed the House version of this bill. You may recall that it alters the information that the courts need to send to SBE to make sure they have the correct information for those who are eligible to vote based on criminal convictions. It also requires public buildings to be available for use as early voting centers and allows chairs of party central committees to seek re-election. The amendments conform the bill to House Bill 14 as it passed the House, and they allow a public official to contest the availability of a public building for use as an early voting center. I move the subcommittee amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion on the bill is amended.
Move favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of Senate Bill 271 as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 271 passes favorably as amended. Senate Bill. Yes.
Bring your own slip.
Haley, did you hear that? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, Senate Bill 283, Delegate Attar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill allows an applicant for the homeowner's tax credit to attest to their income rather than submitting an income tax return if that homeowner was not required and did not file an income tax return. Move favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 283 passes favorably. Senate Bill 358, Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 358 requires TEDCO to include an option for an applicant to voluntarily provide specified demographic information in its investment application. The bill also requires TEDCO to report certain information related to TEDCO's investments and, if available, provide related de-identified and disaggregated demographic information. It is identical to House Bill 753. Move favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, Senate, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 358 passes favorably. Senate Bill 457, Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 457 alters the permissible uses of TEDCO Equitech Growth Fund and a related mandated appropriation to allow for the payment of costs to administer the fund. It is identical to House Bill 410. Move favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Senate Bill 457 passes favorably. Senate Bill 473, Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 473 establishes the Pava LaPere Innovation Acceleration Grant Program and the Baltimore Innovation Initiative Pilot Program in TEDCO to provide funding for certain technology startup companies. It is identical to House Bill 582. Move favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 473 passes favorably. Senate Bill 450, and there are amendments. The amendments replace a provision prohibiting the sharing of school mapping data through the Public Information Act with a provision that allows the sharing of student mapping data in the same manner as other information related to student safety. I move the amendments. Any discussion on the amendments? Who's, yes? 540. Yeah, did I say 550? Okay, we are on 540. Okay. Thank you. Okay, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Okay, opposed? Okay, the amendments pass. I move the bill as amended. Discussion on the bill. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 540 passes favorably as amended. I am going to do a concurrence. House Bill 472 is the cross file to the bill that we just passed, Senate Bill 540, as we passed as amended. I move to concur with the Senate amendments and add the Senate amendments, as we just discussed. Add school mapping data produced by the program to the list of school safety information that is not available under normal public information requests. So I move to concur House Bill 472 with the Senate amendments. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to concur signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Senate Bill 574, and there are amendments. Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 574 is the cross file of House Bill 557, which is the first bill we took up this morning. But as a reminder, it repeals the termination date of Chapter 638 of 2020, which exempted the sale of specified aircraft parts and equipment from the state sales and use tax. There are amendments. The amendments extend rather than repeal the termination date of the exemption. Move the amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed? Hartman's opposed. Okay, the amendments pass. The motion on the bill is amended.
Favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of Senate Bill 574 as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Delegate Plavkovich Carr is opposed. Okay, Senate Bill 574 passes favorably as amended. Senate Bill 580, Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 580 exempts from the state sales and use tax sales made by a nonprofit organization that maintains a memorial on property that is owned by the state if the proceeds of the sale are used to maintain a memorial on state-owned property. Move favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 580 passes favorably. Senate Bill 592, Delegate Plavkovich Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 592 requires the state treasurer to develop written information materials about the Maryland Achieving a Better Life Experience program. The House version of this bill passed our committee unanimously. Move favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 592 passes favorably. Senate Bill 634, Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 634 authorizes TEDCO, subject to a written agreement, to provide administrative support and services to specified business entities and receive compensation for doing so. It is identical to the fabulous House Bill 776. Move favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 634 passes favorably. Senate Bill 675, Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 675 requires the State Board of Individual Tax Preparers and the Comptroller's Office to notify one another regarding certain violations by or disciplinary actions against individual tax preparers and prohibits an income tax preparer from willfully preparing, assisting in preparing, or causing the preparation of an income tax return or claim for refund without being properly licensed or registered. It is identical to House Bill 452. Move favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 675 passes favorably. Senate Bill 677, Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 677 is identical to House Bill 455 as it passed the House. The bill requires various tax and fees and fee returns to be filed with the comptroller electronically. Move favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 677 passes favorably. Senate Bill 738, and there are amendments. Delegate Plavkovich-Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. SB 738 is the Freedom to Read Bill. As amended, this bill establishes state standards for libraries. The bill is almost identical in posture to the bill that the House passed, the only difference being that the state standards for libraries do not include additional items added by the House. There are amendments. The amendments strike provisions altering the crime of destroying or stealing library materials from the bill. Move the amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Delegate Buckle.
Can you expand on, you said additional items added by the House have now been struck by the compromise bill. What does that mean?
Happy to answer that question, Delegate Buckle. I can read you the language specifically that is not included in the bill as amended. So in the sections where it outlines what the state standards are, the following language is no longer included, but had been in the House passed bill. The right to use a library belongs to all individuals in the library's community, and that right should not be denied or hindered because of an individual's origin, age, background, or views. A library should make its public spaces and facilities available to all members of the public. It serves on an equitable basis, and a library should honor the right to privacy of each person who uses its services and must protect personal data and information. So that language is what is removed.
Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Opposed, raise your hand, please. Okay, is there a motion on the bill as a Delegate Miller is opposed to the amendments? Anyone else? Delegate Hornberger, Delegate Hartman. Is there a motion on the bill as amended? Any discussion on the bill as amended? Buckle? Okay, we are going to do a roll call. If you two want to step out, you're welcome to. Do you want to take a pause for the cause? Okay, we're gonna do a roll call on Senate Bill 738 as amended. Madam Vice Chair.
Yes.
Delegate Ebersol is excused. Delegate Patterson?
Yes.
Delegate Buckle?
No.
Delegate Wells? Delegate Hornberger? Delegate Fair?
Yeah.
Delegate Long is excused. Delegate Young? Delegate Miller? Delegate Henson? Delegate Roberts? Delegate Grossman? Delegate Wims? Delegate Vogel is excused. Haley? Delegate Wu? Delegate Hartman? Delegate Miracle North? Delegate Griffith? Delegate Attar? Delegate Plavkovich-Carr? Delegate Feldmark? And the chair votes yes. Senate Bill 738 passes favorably as amended. Senate Bill 771. This bill repeals the requirement that a teacher preparation program include passing a nationally recognized portfolio-based assessment of teaching ability as a requirement for graduation. Further, the bill changes the requirement to qualify for an initial teaching certificate and the certification requirements for a teacher who holds a professional license or certificate from another state. The bill also authorizes local school systems to establish rigorous, comprehensive induction programs as part of a pathway to a teaching certificate. Is in the same posture as the House bill. Move favorable. All in favor of, any discussion? Sorry. Okay, all in favor of Senate Bill 771, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 771 passes favorably. Senate Bill 781, Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 781 renames the Regional Additive Manufacturing Partnership of Maryland to be the Regional Advanced Manufacturing Partnership of Maryland and alters references from additive manufacturing to advanced manufacturing for purposes of the RAMP MD. It passed the Senate unanimously. Move favorable.
Any discussion on this groundbreaking piece of legislation. Heavy hitting stuff here. Okay, all in favor of Senate Bill 781 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, Senate Bill 781 passes favorably. Senate Bill 797, and there are amendments. Delegate Plavkovich Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As amended, this bill establishes the access to attorneys, advocates, and consultants for special education program administered by the Maryland Legal Services Corporation and MSDE. Eligible students are those with a disability whose parent has an income of 150% of the poverty guide established by the Maryland Legal Services Corporation and made at least one attempt to resolve a disagreement with a public agency regarding the child's special education services or program. So the amendments make the Maryland Legal Services Corporation, not the Maryland Volunteer Lawyers Service, the nonprofit entity responsible for administering the program, restore funding for the program to $2 million a year, which I'll note was the same as what was in the House passed bill, and establish a specific reporting requirement for disbursement of the program funds. Lastly, I'll just note that the House cross file of this bill did pass our committee unanimously. Move the amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion on the bill is amended. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 797 passes favorably as amended. Senate Bill 882, and there are amendments. Delegate Plavkovich Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As amended, this bill repeals the termination date for the Growing Family Child Care Opportunities Pilot Program, making it a permanent program, and also requires the governor in fiscal year 2026 to include a $450,000 appropriation in the budget for the program. As amended, the bill is identical to the House version, which passed our committee unanimously. The amendment just limits the mandatory appropriation to 1 year in 2026. Move the amendment.
Any discussion on the amendment? Okay, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion on the bill is amended. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 882 passes favorably as amended. Senate Bill 897, Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 897 is an emergency bill that allows an income tax subtraction modification for a payment of certain death benefits from a county or municipality in the state to the surviving spouse or other beneficiary of a law enforcement officer or firefighter. It is similar to House Bill 1064. Move favorable.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 897 passes favorably. Senate Bill 1091, and there are amendments. Delegate Plavkovich Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As amended, this bill requires local boards of education to annually determine the instructional materials that will be used in the upcoming school year for students with IEPs or 504 plans. The bill is nearly identical to the House passed version with a slight change to fix a drafting error. So specifically, those amendments put the bill in the same posture as the House bill, except that the memorandum of understanding is limited to MSDE and county boards of education and does not include NIMAC. And this bill previously passed our House or our committee unanimously. Move the amendments.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Senate Bill 1091 passes favorably as amended. Senate Bill 1105, Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 1105 requires the comptroller to implement and administer an individual income tax credit eligibility awareness campaign to identify underserved individuals who may be eligible to claim an individual income tax credit and encourage them to apply for credits. It is identical to House Bill 845. Move favorable.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Senate Bill 1105 passes favorably. Folks, I will say that, well, that concludes our voting session for today. We are probably going to be voting not on Monday, but possibly every single day next week. Next week, Saturday, we will be here. I do know that Monday, we will be on the floor at 6:30, so we can get some stuff done. So plan on being here for that this coming Monday. Do any subcommittees need to make any announcements? Okay, but just plan on voting frequently. Yep, Delegate Young. that fall, I don't, what time do we come? I don't know, like 10, 11. But we will definitely be here the fall, not this Saturday, but the following. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.